Hey guys, it's Matt. I just recorded an hour-long video. It was 57 plus minutes, and there were no breaks, no stoppages. This has never happened before in the iMac. When I went to stop the recording, everything was done perfectly. I just clicked the button as I always have. A box loaded underneath to the bottom. The video will drop down. There was nothing there. When I went to click on it, or even before, there was a circle with a line through it saying, "There's no video here. screw you." I tried to open it all different ways. 57 minutes. It said, "Screw you. You do it again." Okay, guys. Look, I take it in a positive way. Maybe there's some things that I shouldn't have said, or I'll do better. So that's fine. But I'm going to break it up. I usually do. I usually have 4, 5, 6 breaks. Every 5 to 10 minutes, I need to break to make sure I'm just not recording another 35 minutes for nothing. So if I can, boy, it's like what's been said, what needs to be said again. This is not going to be easy. The many of you that don't watch the Olympics or have thrown out your television, let me bring you up to speed on what I want to talk about, but totally in a different way. Remind you to look at these things in a different way than what the truth community would do or react to, or how it would want to see this, or how the truth community, I'm sure, is providing its energy and loosh to this sort of event. The whole front part of this video comes down to the slogan that I introduced in the last video that never made it out of the iMac. Are we taking the bait? In terms of whatever it's floating in front of us, are we analyzing it in a way where we're taking its bait and doing exactly what it wants? And unfortunately for the truth community, 95% of the time, quote, we are taking its bait. And this example about this controversial headline in the Olympics is a perfect example of, are we seeing it in the right way? Are we noticing the not tricks and ruse, or are we taking the bait? So for those that don't haven't seen this story, 1 minute or less, there was a women's boxing or female boxing match between an Algerian boxer and an Italian boxer. The Algerian boxer's name is Imane, Imane, Khalif. Yeah, the word man is in there. And then her name from Italy is, I don't know her preferred pronoun, I do apologize, is Angela. Angel is in there. Angela Karen. And apparently Angela from Italy just got, pummeled in this female boxing match. We're talking about the Olympics. She got really beaten up for 40 seconds, and she said she stopped fighting. The reason is she made it pretty clear that she believes that who she was fighting is a man, or a biological man. Now, this is a not milk story through and through. It is completely from the outer ring of reality, from the screen. It's loaded with distraction and controversy. And for example, this person that was allowed to compete in the Olympics, Imane, I don't, we'll call her she. I'll take that liberty. She had been disqualified, or not allowed, let's just say not allowed to compete in certain events, worldwide events, say in the year prior. And what would have been the reason for that? Of course, just say gender reasons, not allowed to compete. But the IOC, or the Olympic Committee, was very, let's say, adamant that they're not allowing. They said very clearly they're not allowing a biological man to compete in women's boxing. And it is the story is she has always been a female. But then why wasn't she allowed to compete? This video is not going where you think it is. I'm using this as an example as to the pitfalls and traps that the truth community falls into most of the time. So we learn from this. So if the Olympic Committee is so sure, why was she not allowed not allowed to compete? Because of a suspicion. I don't know all the details. The stories are presented in such a way that all the details are nebulous. It's meant to cause confusion. It's meant to be this sort of distraction. It's meant to cause this sort of argument or controversy amongst people. It's meant to be noticed. Put it that way. It's meant to be noticed. So when we in our community notice this sort of thing, one of the most important things in part one, in graduating to the part two the work and the worry about yourself activities, if we're going to look at it at all, are we in any way taking the bait? And can you imagine how our community has taken the bait on this story? Now, let me pause here, make sure the video's here. I'll come right back. Okay, that was no problem. We'll try to do 5 or 10-minute segments. Who's we, Matt? You and your Britney Spears alter ego? Okay. So in anything, we're just using this as one example. And I can say we here because your comments always help me move this conversation along. Are we taking the bait in terms of how we're looking at it? That is the most important thing as we navigate this reality, and we ever, even for a second, dip our toe back into the pool or go back into part 1. I've said before, you may have a certain type of conspiracy research that you consider to be a hobby, like the architecture. The architecture and how things should not be able to have been built is fascinating to me and to many of you. And I, from time to time, will still jump back into some of those videos. But is it a hobby? Or are you trying to figure it out? Well, do you think there will someday be an answer? The point, once you arrive at a certain point in this community, in your truth research over a 10 or 15-year period, I'm hopefully you would get to the point where you say it's not ever going to be figured out, and part of the game it's playing, part of its ruse, its cunning attempt to trick us, is to get us to try to find the answer, to jump in, and to get to the bottom of it. That is its same. That's its same trick, its same distraction, its same tactics every single time. So I haven't looked at what the truth community is really saying about this particular issue, but I'm sure over here on BitChute, the transpaco-taco armies it's a man, and I told you George Clooney's wife, and they're in that weeds. And do you think that's what the Not Nelk wants from presenting this boxing match in the Olympics? So let's back up to the absolute basics. Does anybody really think that it just wants to have a biological male in the female sport of boxing, and at that level, that first level, that's just all it wants? Or do you think it doesn't care one bit about that? All it cares about is the attention it'll get. Well, even the first grade truther should know all it cares about is the attention that this story will get. Well, Matt, you're talking about it now. You're giving attention to it. I am. I have to. As I've said many times, 30 seconds or less. It's an Amish classroom. First graders, fifth graders, 12th graders, graduates have come back for the day. Welcome back home. Did you clear fields? Well, I try to move the first, second, fifth graders along to graduate level. I always will have to go and return to the weeds from time to time to make sure any dabbling in the weeds is done in the right fashion, in the right way. That's your excuse, Matt, to return. If you want to call it an excuse, call it an excuse. But no, it's so we see its general trick, which basically get to the point where everything is part of its trick. Everything is part of its ruse. You exit it, you see what it's trying to get from you, you stop giving it what it's trying to get from you, and then you do the worry about yourself part 2 activities. Okay, it's the same simple formula every single time. So in terms of me talking about this story, the trolls will come in, or you say don't do screen exercise, and you're doing a screen exercise. No, I'm using this, as an example as to what not to do. I'm using this as a way of noticing the tendencies we have to be pulled back into it. So the first thing you have to see is this boxing match that took place in the Olympics. Does it have any other motivation than it trying to be noticed? Not just in our community, of course, that's important to it, but noticed just a family down the street that just, somebody will bring it up at dinner. Did you see that it was likely a biological man in the female boxing, and they talk about it over dinner, and maybe there's a little bit of an argument. And maybe one of the daughters is a social justice warrior type, and she then will fight with the father. And that's all it cares about. That the fact that it's noticed, and when it's noticed, it can get a lot out of it. Mostly harvesting energy and loosh or whatever it gets out of being noticed. So, there's a reason why it seems like I'm returning to the weeds here. You just have to give me 15 or 20 minutes for this to play out. It's going to be a little bit shorter than the last video. I'm just going to check one more time, guys. Hopefully this is going to record. I just checked disk space. It might have literally not had enough disk space at the end to compile. I mean, so an iMac in 2024 can't warn me that my hard drive space is getting a little tight. It just will let me record an hour and just say, screw you. It can't. I think there were computers in the 90s, I thought, or the late 80s would tell you if you're, who knows. Oh boy, I've had that issue with iMac as well, where it'll do the whole video. It'll just cut off the last section without warning me that my hard drive is filling up. Anyway, guys, so okay, that's part. The next part is this. All right, obviously, what in terms of seeing the big picture as to what's going on in this reality, when you see a headline or a story like this, it's not to, it's to notice, number one, like in part one. Does it want to be noticed? Does it want you to engage in the controversy? Of course it does. Part two, then, from that is this is a more of a truther ready to graduate, 10th, 11th grade, pushing towards graduation, sees we live inside of a gigantic script. And pushing into graduation is that script, is that not milk screen or script, not milk script or outer screen presentation, is pulled so many tens of thousands of things off, has done so many things in so many mysterious ways over the 15 years or so most of us has been looking at it, that there is no real world that could do that. That's part two, is we live in a script, and the first grade truther generally believes that that script can be pulled off and executed by the secret societies and Tavistock and dark groups. And you don't know what the Trilateral Commission is capable of, Matt. And why do you think they go to the Grove, the Grove? Why do you think they go the Grove? Why do you think they go there, Matt? Just to yank each other off? Well, yeah, they do that. But okay, no. See, it depends how long you've been doing this. Okay, this is a case where you're setting up a scenario. You're going to say, take my word for it. Yeah, I'm basically at the end of this going to say, take my word for it, because I can't present you with a complete accounting of all the impossible things that I've witnessed. Let's just say I've been doing this, if you go back to the Texas Shrug channel, pushing 15 years. All right, it's not just me doing it or kind of me being at the center of it. Imagine tens of thousands of things that people have sent into me over those, say, close to 15 years. The strangest things, their own personal testimony of weird things that happened, impossible coincidences. Okay, so I basically, let's just say, for lack of saying it in a better way, I've been at the center of this for 12 years or more. And there's so many things I've seen, so many strange anomalies, occult meaning embedded in this, symbolism over here, alchemical symbols embedded here, endless gematria, that I passed a threshold. You heard me say it so many times, but let me just reiterate this. 6 or 7 years ago, where I said there's just no real world could pull this off. No, world or realm that came from a big bang and we're in outer space. And but the most important part of that, at least for this presentation, is no groups of men and women that are, say, no different than you in just in a body sitting around a creepy table could pull all this off. I believe, if you believe that is possible, that you don't know what the Council on Foreign Relations can do, Matt, and their connections to the OTO secret society. If you believe that, I don't believe you've seen as much as I have. You've seen, how many times can somebody just roll two dice snake eyes? Say they do it twice in a row, and the person says, I can do it 5 times in a row. And you say, that's almost impossible. And they do it 5 times in a row. Let's say if they did it more than that, then you'd have to come to the conclusion that something else is going on. That he's not just getting lucky anymore, a loaded die. Or if it's not a fake dice, the person is some sort of, demonic magician or witch or warlock, or what you'd have to put other things on the table as possibilities. So in terms of all that, say, I've seen, or all you've shared with me over the years regarding all this stuff that they pulled this off, how they just the stuff pulled off in one event, the September event in 2001, just that pulled off very quickly crosses into the supernatural elements needed to be part of it, or the impossible. I believe even one one type of mall event, or mall/school event, something like the gambling town event, what happened a few years ago, we'll say, in Las Vegas, gets to a certain threshold where, okay, if it's all they did, that's the one thing they did in 10 years, then you could make the argument that maybe the secret societies pulled that one off. But there's thousands of other things going on at the same time, including the Indian moon landing, like the thousands of things going on at the same time. So, guys, sorry, there's no way you can be close to graduation, in my opinion, if you are stuck on the fact that it's men and women and groups and societies pulling all this off. So I'm going to pause again. I'm just at 5 minutes. Make sure. Okay, I better relate it back to the original story, which was just the Olympic event where most believe it was a biological man in the women's boxing match. So instead of being pulled into the weeds, first thing I recognize is it wants to be noticed. It wants this sort of controversy. But the other thing I noticed right after that, and it always goes the same way for me, is we live in a gigantic script, and which is what I was talking about in the last segment. But what you have the letters MAN, right in the name. How many thousands of times have we seen this sort of thing? I understand with the first grade truther, it's a mockery, Matt. You should know more than anybody how they mock. I want to pull you out of that. I hear you. In a way, it is a mockery. In a way, there's something bigger going on here. That's the point of this sort of presentation. Even with her competitor, Angela, she's an angel. Just the looks of the person that say won. And I'm not just mean like I'm not mean like gruff. I mean just the look is I've talked about this in the way, say, Nancy Pelosi. I'm allowed to talk about her looks, right? Bot and how Leslie Headland, who for Disney Star Wars helped ruin Star Wars with the recent horrible abysmal, the Alkalite. Just the way she looks is meant to cause there's an unlikability, and even them sitting in a chair not saying anything, and when they open their mouth, it gets worse. And even the looks of this this caricature that was presented in the Olympics is very I'm not saying it right, and I'm not sure what I can say. But how could they, Matt? How could that even be a factor? The looks of the person, and you could go back and maybe we'll call her. I'm not going to check with her about the preferred p noun, but you likely could go back and see whether, I'm not saying it's not a man or whatever. That's where it wants us, at that level. It's a man. It wants us at that level, so I'm not going to do it. Whether it's presentation, it is a man or it's not, or what the Olympic Committee in this case, they're very sure and confident that they're doing the right thing, and if they're basically saying, if we knew it was a man, then we wouldn't allow her to compete. We're confident. But then again, a year ago, she was not allowed to compete. Well, what would the point? Why not? Well, obviously, there's a lot. You don't need to do the genetic testing with the $50,000 piece of equipment. You just need to do the drop your pants, drop them. Oh, you can compete. Or I would think it would be clear just on the drop the boxing shorts test. You don't need no sophisticated machinery. But okay, it presents a script, and the first grade truther also, or the third grade truther also sees there's a script being played out. Whether they would also see many of the things we see, that it's related to their need to always work in their astrology and their alchemical symbols. But the first grade truther believes that script that plays out is just the doings of regular men and women at the table. And Matt, you talk about the creepy table, and Bill's poster presents the creepy table. Yes, but it's not literal. It's not. That's the only way we can talk about it. I'll refer to the creepy table, meaning what the creeps or the minions are up to. There's a supernatural element to it. You just have to trust me on this. There's too much that I've seen pulled off. I crossed that threshold many years ago Okay, let's just do the act it out for a minute or two. They all get together at a table, first grade truthers, and all the secret societies represented. Who are we waiting on? Anybody? We're waiting on Satan and Hillary Clinton. Well, where's, I can understand Satan being late. It takes a while to get here from the ninth plane of hell. Where's Hillary Clinton? She's coming up the elevator now. Well, they all bow down and get hush hush, and it floats in like a demon. And it's like, okay, so they sit around the table, but it's just men and women in a body, right? There's no supernatural element. There's nothing. There's no things going on here we can't possibly comprehend in terms of the reality or metaphysical reality that we can only take in with our senses. There's nothing going on beyond the senses. So if men and women at a table, right, they're just initiated. They're initiates. Oh, I love that word. And somebody eventually, because they were just in a body, right, they would think, I'm hungry. Somebody down the end of the creepy table. Well, we're going to have catering brought in. We're hungry. We all want to eat too. And they get, their stomachs are growling, right? They're just regular men and women that can pull all this off, all the tens of thousands of things that should be impossible to pull off, that many of you have seen, the old guard that have seen. I've seen. I'm hungry. When's the catering coming? And then somebody, maybe a few, an initiator in some dark secret society, just a few chairs down, goes, like, oh my God, who let one go? And then even Hillary Clinton's like, bring in the gas man. Oh, they're just regular men and women, right? And then they eat their, Subway sandwiches? And I got to go to bed. I'm going to take mine to the pot. And then come on. All that we've seen pulled off. If you just, it's just, what would they wouldn't make mistakes. They forget. You forgot to make the secret phone call. Oh, was that my job to make the secret phone call? Okay, it's ridiculous. For anybody first, second, third grade, who you just have to understand, been in the middle of this for almost 15 years. The first 100, how many times you're going to roll snake eyes? How many times you're going to flip a coin? Where, if you saw somebody flip heads 5 times in a row, if they did it a 6th or a 7th or an 8th, you'd say, well, there's something else going on. That's not possible. Just for a few flips. What we've seen in terms of all that they've pulled off is thousands of times that. Okay, Matt, point is clear. So here's the boxing match, the Olympic boxing match. Main Khalifa, in some way it's a script presenting all the, I see it in a supernatural way. I don't, for example, the first grade truther would say that, well, the angel, that's in her name. She's an angel against the bad guy against good against bad. That's part of the script, and how they pull all this off. Reality just sees to this somehow. The minions are on that frequency on that radio station. It's much larger, and this not know thing is much larger and darker than the minions that pull it off. So this Angela is Karen. Karen? Something like that. Care is in her last name, of course. And she retires or bows out after 40 seconds, just after getting pummeled. And of course, she makes it pretty clear that she believes she's fighting a man, and she's crying, and it's so horrible and tragic. And I don't think like the Italian is in on it. But see, what I'm saying is the way, this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. The way this reality pulls this shit off, I don't think that even Khalifa from Algeria is in on it. Understands not milk. It understands they're actually just a participant in a grand script. That who knows how long this script, that will ruffle a lot of feathers. Certainly to the first grade truther, the men in black came in and they got with this from Algeria, and they said, you want to take up boxing, and we're going to give you hormones. And it was all planned by men and women. I'm saying the script here, because we've seen so much, plays out like this all the time without even the people or the main elements of the script or the presentation being aware they're participating in a script. I think everybody on the Ship of Fools basically participates in a script. The only ones that have a chance of not participating in the script are those who have dived off the back of the Titanic, like you and me, that are trying to, in every way, to separate from the Ship of Fools and the frequency that comes with it and the frequency it carries. So I'm saying it's possible. Her name has MAN right in it. I'm saying the way this reality typically works is you go back to the original birth certificate and it would still say MAN. Now, no secret society came into the hospital, however, 20 some years ago. We've just seen too much of this, nor did the men in black. Matt, they planned this out to a perfection. They started planning it about 16 months ago. With this secret society in Tavistock, no. One last time. Maybe in terms of all the major things it's pulled off over the last 50 years, it could probably has the infrastructure and capacity, money, manpower, women power to pull off 50 things. We've seen 10,000 things, if you include all happening at the same time. What's happening in Russia, Ukraine right now? Who's managing that? What's the noodle eater above Seoul, Korea? The noodle eater. What's he up to in terms of his elements of the script? What the Indian Space Agency with its Vector is launching again? Who's managing that? I'll tell you who's managing it. Nobody's managing it. But yet the NOC is managing it, and its frequency is managing it, and its download is managing it. Not a creepy table of people waiting for I'm hungry, waiting for the Subway sandwiches to come in, waiting to report to their masters back at the secret society. Doesn't work like that, first grade truthers. I've got to check to make sure this recorded. Okay, that recorded. One more segment or two. The most important thing to come out of this video is if we can remember to assign, anytime we dabble in part one, or anytime we look at anything related to conspiracy or what it's up to or the trick, are we taking the bait? And in my opinion, there's only one, exception, or one. What do you in Monopoly? You have a get out of jail free card, right? You could throw that get out of jail free card and you'd hold it back. And if it's our hobby, the architecture is the best example because it's still, again, like I said, very of interest to me. It's funny, like when I say, like I said, I don't know if I said that the first time or if I said it in this video. So there's going to be a few mistakes like that. I can't, it's all blended together at this point. So you've done your affirmations. I'm going to continue to, for example, someone said, I'm going to continue to watch all these architecture videos. I don't believe any of these cathedrals could be built in the time they're built. There's all sorts of anomalies about, how were they even built with extra capacity and resources when they're in constant war, as history says. And it takes an hour and a half a day just to get water. To build, it's not about, I don't want to stray into an architecture video, but what I've talked about many times over the years, and I don't watch a lot of these architecture videos anymore, the possible construction. But when I was talking about this, one of the things I stressed, they had not talked about when I started talking about this. They'll talk about, is it physically possible to lift a block with a rope and a pulley? That's not the point. The point is, where's the excess capacity or the leisure time that would need to exist in a society that's supposedly constantly preparing for war or is in war, or it takes an hour and a half to get water. You have to plant the field. There is no, in a survival society, which would have to be 14, 15, 16, 1700, there is no excess capacity. Well, Matt, you're proving our point. They're proving that history is not what they say, and the whole world was different back then, and there was reset. And look at the weeds I just found myself getting involved in. Okay, let me return to it. Yeah, I was getting into a cycle of weeds, and I don't want to go there. We'll do that some other time. The get out of jail free card or pass is if you're going to jump back into part one, but it's truly fascinating to you. It's your hobby. You know, how the Coral Castle was built by one guy. Is that a real story? Well, you've done your affirmations. I'm not giving any energy attention to it. I'll continue to watch it as a hobby. That's the get out of jail free card. On everything else, I think if we say to ourselves, are we taking its bait in any way? I think we've been doing this long enough. Even the fifth grade truthers will sense, yeah. I'm like the boxing. It's likely, as it's presented now, it was a man in the boxing ring, and to get involved in that story, even the fifth grade truther would say, yeah, we're taking its bait. It doesn't care about the boxing match as much as me jumping into it and talking to my sister about it, for example. So, okay. So that is the most important element. Anytime, and we still watch some videos. I mean, we all it's hard to kick the addiction. Even I'll watch some I told you I'm getting away from the movie reviewers like the critical drinker, but also, a few times a week I'll watch a video from the movie reviewers. YouTube knows I'm getting away from it. It doesn't show me nearly as much. But like Echo Chamberlain, I think is funny. His very sophisticated, highbrow humor, I think, is funny in his movie reviews. So I watch. We all can't be perfect, and it's okay. I just want you to constantly recognize, are we taking the bait, and recognize how in this story about the way the first grade or second grade truthers would jump into the story, including the transpaco-taco army, would be, if they jump into it in that way, they're just stuck in first grade truth. They're doing exactly what the not milk wants. You make videos about is Serena Williams this? If you make those videos, you're just doing exactly what it wants. I mean, that's 100%. There's no question about it. If that was your entree into a higher truth or your path, maybe you did that for a few years. Oh, why are they presenting all these Hollywood actresses when they're all men? If that was your entree, but you need to move past it. My entree was I was a Russian Vid's disciple. Oh, he's got to be talking about a Cake in a Lake mall event today, right? A Cake in a Lake school event. Oh, look at this Umpqua or whatever. We looked at all of them. Ohio State, Chuck again and again. He's looked at more than any. I hope Chuck again and again is moving past that. You have to see that was our entree to truth, but you could see whether you believe I'm right or wrong. I've moved way past it. Okay, maybe your entree to truth was transpaco-taco, and then for years you analyzed the Joan Rivers comment about Michelle, and then for example, when Obama, Matt, don't jump into these weeds. Okay, when Obama made a mistake, right, and he said, me and First Lady Obama said Mike several times. No. Well, two major interviews, two times. There's some sightings other than that, but two times that were okay. He's not. If you jump into it, oh, look what he said. He told you the truth. No. It's a psyop laid down years in advance. Michelle was. I mean, he didn't make a mistake. He made a mistake on purpose to get the attention of the truth community. In this community, it is a cardinal sin to even suggest the fact that Michelle may be real, like legitimate. It's a cardinal sin to even suggest that. And if I'm suggesting that here, if I went to some truther convention, in Sandusky, Ohio next week, they'd say, Matt, quantum of consciousness, immediately put them in that thing with the lettuce gets thrown and the heads of cabbage and the tomatoes, and they put me in there, and that's exactly what I'm suggesting. I'm saying you have to understand how sophisticated this not milk is. How it knows how the truth community is going to react. It knows if you've been sleeping. It knows if you've been bad or good. It is a worthy adversary. That's beyond what men and women at a table in the secret society initiates or something. I'm hungry. When's the catering being? Pull it in. You'll get nothing, Spalding, and like it. You'll get Hillary. You'll get nothing and like it. We're not eating yet. You have to finish the meeting. We have to finish planning out next week's events. Now the Subway catering is coming in soon. No, I'm suggesting that it's, to me, it's truth or blasphemy. But how pathetic is that? Where this would be truth or blasphemy, that Michelle is most likely real, is most likely Aaliyah's mother. And the not milk has used, and the way she's presented is to look at me. It's when they showed her in the Michelle workout, the 30-pound, they show, and then they show Barack. It's the duality. The truth community has underestimated how devious, how genius our adversary is. They show Barack, his basketball. Oh, play your ball, bounce your ball. Jordan Maxwell, you go bounce your ball, you play your ball games. You just let us worry about how to run the world. You put on your NFL, you watch your ball games. Oh, little gentle Barack on the basketball court. And then he'll ride his little peewee bike. And then that's all part. Can't you can the old guard can sense it. He goes, yeah, that's all part of what was the bait that was laid before us that for us to take. Oh, and it's truth or blasphemy. That it'll probably the trolls are already running with this because they know it's truth or blasphemy. And boy, if I were to go to that Truth or Convention in Sandusky, Ohio next week, I wouldn't be received very well. Matt, get this, Matt suggested that Michelle is the real mother of Aaliyah and the other daughter, and that's just I knew he wasn't one of us. I'm here to tell the truth, guys. I can see through its multi-layered psyops better than most, and we all it does whether you believe me or not that was part of a whole gigantic anti-truther against us to marginalize us, to put us in a box. I remember that's one of the first things my friends came to me with, probably in 2010. They one of the last emails they sent me, honestly, before I lost touch with a lot of people, not because of this, but it was with the time that Matt sees the world like in a weird way. The email came to me with all my friends copied in. Matt, do you believe that Michelle is what your people say? And I said, at the time, it was 2010. I said it's very likely that we're right about. And anyway, enough on that point. Guys, let me pause and make sure this is recording. I'll try to summarize the best I can in this section. Anytime we even dabble for a moment into part one, which is the trick, seeing through the trick. The whole reality lays down a ruse. Stop giving it energy. Stop participating in anything we're not sure. To say these words, which I forget, which I forget the most important part. I forget. Are we taking the bait? And I think if you're honest, in most things we've looked at, we've spent too much time on Michelle, of course. Most things we've looked at, no matter what you believe in terms of that last argument, even those that are right about Michelle, are we taking the bait? Are we kind of doing what it wants? And the graduate level truther in the old guard goes, yeah, we're doing. It's to recognize we're doing what it wants. So this leads me to all these truth channels that endlessly dive into the details and the weeds and constantly break down the symbolism. And I grow kind of frustrated. I'm not going to mention any names, but first off, at first glance, what they're doing is incredibly impressive. Just say, noticing the symbolism, noticing, just let's say the Olympics alone, noticing the gematria, or this ley line connects with this, or this statue in Paris just happens to look right down this ley line, and the connections is all they're each connection on their own is mostly from these channels is correct. It's levels of detail that I would have never noticed even if I was trying, and it's incredible what they do, but I really grow frustrated. And I say, okay, you found all the symbolism. You found how this is a presentation of Mercury related to the alchemical water and all this stuff. And for some reason, the creepy contingency or cadre, whatever that is, or the minions and the creeps, they do all that symbolism. It's like they have to for themselves, for their own energy harvesting. It's not just to attract our attention, because only a few are very good at breaking down exactly what the symbolism means. But I say to myself when I watch these presentations in these channels, do they ever go up to 100,000 feet and present their own half page? Maybe they do, and I don't watch a whole lot, but it seems like they don't. Okay, that's the whole point. The endless breakdown of the not milk and the creepy symbolism, even if each the presentation of Matt, this part of the Olympic opening ceremony was a tribute to this ancient god, tying in to alchemical air and water. I mean, even if, let's say it's all right, and it's impressive what these people can do, but you go in it's not just a cop-out because I don't understand it, but it's like, well, you're diving in further to part one. We know in general, if you go up to 100,000 feet and you look down, you say, we know in general that in anything that they consider important will tie in their creepy astrology, will tie in their ancient tributes to ancient gods and their alchemical this and that and their connections and okay, we know that, right? Let's just break down the next event. It's always going to be the same way. What's the takeaway? Okay, your takeaway or whoever maintains these channels may not be my takeaway, but I'd like to see the takeaway. I'd like to see the half page. What's going on? If 100, getting your hot air balloon at 100,000 feet, what's going on? And without that, it's useless. The research, the noticing, the connections is useless without the takeaway. And the only takeaway that matters is transferring into part two, the work, the worry about yourself activities, which means using the creepy adversary to better understand ourselves and who we really are. Matt, it comes down to that same one sentence again. You're getting awfully repetitive. Yeah, I think it's the most important sentence basically ever said, and I'm going to say it every single time if I can. That realization. We come in here, Tommy, deaf, dumb, and blind kid, sure plays a mean pinball. I don't play pinball, but we all come in here, Tommy. And the point while we're here is to get in touch. We're so blind and so lost to get in touch with why we're here, what we're supposed to do in the short time we're here, and to learn about ourselves. It's not a rigged game. It's not unfair, this life test. The proof is in the pudding. Why? Because we're actually succeeding. Our group is succeeding. You're delusional. So we're doing the work. We're finding out about ourselves. 100% we're finding out about ourselves. They're not delusional. We're winning, for lack of better words. It's not unfair if we're actually winning and we're overcoming the adversary. We're overcoming the trick. All of us can see through the trick at this point. How is it unfair if we're succeeding in every metric that's important at this point? So it's pretty simple. Here comes the next event. You could break it down to a level of detail the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. But for what? They're always going to make that sort of presentation using their alchemical this and then their symbolism and their numbers at 33, the 33. They're always going to do that. And it's not just so, part of it is so we notice it, to pull us in closer. Oh, look at that. And I recorded a certain section of the Olympics, and I'll show it to you just because we look at this from time to time, but it's just another creepy presentation. Most of the sporting events in the Olympics have been pure sport, have been real competition. Not faked, like the first grade truther. Everything has to be faked. Even the 100-meter dash is faked. Oh, sure. It would look like a real race with Noah Lyles winning by 1/100th of a second if it was all planned. It might be planned and plotted by Not Milk, but the characters or actors on the stage, they're not in any way aware. They're inside of a script. It might be a script. That's what I'm saying. There's a supernatural element. There's an element beyond the metaphysical reality, things we will never understand while we're in a body. In that regard, it may be faked to line up with their ode to their ancient gods, but it's not faked on the ground with the individual people being involved, the way the first grade truther thinks. Every single handoff in the NFL, the defense knows what's coming, and it's all wrestling. Here comes a handoff to Saquon Barkley, who now I understand is going to play for the Eagles, and the defense knows, and they're just going to make it look good. That is ridiculous. The NFL certainly guides outcomes, in my opinion. I think when Taylor Swift, that whole Jason Kelce thing, I think it was pretty easy betting to know the Chiefs were going to go to the Super Bowl with that whole. You don't bring Taylor Swift in on that as for no reason. Oh, they lost in the first round. Bye, Taylor. See you next week. I'm going to see you next year. Come to training camp with Jason Kelce. They're not going to say goodbye to something as massive as the Taylor Swift story. Could have just bet everything. You know they were going to the Super Bowl. Matt, you bet. I don't bet. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to participate. Energy is money. Money is energy. I'm not going to put my energy. That's giving it loose or what. I'm not going to do it. It was easy money to make that bet. You know it was going to go to the Super Bowl. I remember saying, though, I wasn't sure they were going to win the Super Bowl. I think it was important for them to get Taylor to the Super Bowl. The win was I couldn't have said. But anyway, so what's the whole point? I got to pause anyway to make sure it's recording. See, Matt, you can use this as an excuse now to make sure it's recording because you lose your train of thought. You just made this up. I'm going to use it as an excuse when I lose my train of thought like I just did. But trust me, this damn thing screwed me. I had an hour of video that just went away. That recorded. All right, last segment. Guys, I would like, first off, I'll just finish my thought on the last segment about these other truth channels that dive into pull forth incredible amounts of detail. Do you have your half page? You can then go back to the detail, but have you presented it? in general, do you see the adversary here? What does it look like to you? What is the adversary in general out to do to real spiritual beings? So, everybody in this community doesn't, we're not atheists. We believe that this is just a short train stop. We move on after death. So I think I can speak for, we're all basically in the same boat here. So to the detail, the moves that break everything down all the time, what's your half page? And I've made a video about the similar topic recently. Then you go back to the detail. What is the adversary up to? My few sentences are always very simple. It's simply here to block us from what we're supposed to do. And I believe what Tony, not Tony that believes in CNN, that's my friend from high school. The other Tony told me many years ago that if the higher self doesn't get what it needs out of its different incarnations, of which you're one, of the dream character's relation to you, your relation to it, in kind of a steps up, or a fractal reality relationship, if it doesn't get what it wants, what it needs, then the higher self will put more incarnations into material planes until it gets what it needs. So I'm out to, maybe I'm going to assume all the other incarnations, this is what I believe, your belief set's going to be a bit different. I'm going to believe they're all fuck-ups. There's a stockbroker another Matt's a stockbroker at another time, he's just looking at blip, 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 look at blip, trade to blip, Paul, calls and puts, blip, blip, blip. Oh, I just made $10,000. Oh, I just lost $3,000. They put and then they put their entire identity. That's not in and of it. I know there's some people here that might even trade and all that. That's fine. I'm saying I get on those people as a wasted life when it's their entire identity, when it's like those Wolf of Wall Street shows, and that's their whole identity. Then they go out and they got to spend $5,000 in the bar and put the cocaine line down and get the whores. And when it becomes their entire identity, that's a wasted life. Not just saying if that's how you put food on the table for your kids. Okay, I know there's some people here that trade. Hopefully you understand why I get on that. It's that whole lifestyle, when that becomes, the lifestyle choices that this society has been pushing. And then somebody grew, oh, it's not a choice, Matt. I got lambasted and scolded a few months. It's not a choice. Yeah, well, how am I supposed to talk about it? I understand if I, like my parts, I like Greg. That's my parts like Greg. And that if I'm like that, I understand that that's how the parts work. And I understand it's not always a choice. I'm fine with it. So we don't like how it's just pushing our faces all day long. So I got it. But I'm just saying, those that have made certain lifestyle choices, we'll just put it like that, it becomes their entire identity. That's where they're completely falling for the not milk trick. If it is who they are and they want to adopt a child or whatever, have a relation, that's fine. That's great. It can be a successful life, in my opinion. There's not that there's anything wrong with it. For 90, the way that the society's been set up and not milk has been so evil genius in this regard. It's 99% in that group. It's their entire identity. It's everything to them. What they do with the cooked pasta, what they do with the wet willy it's everything, and they show it off, and then that's where it's you're just completely lost to exactly what the not milk wants. A life loser to make it. I have to participate in not milk activities. I got to get in the car and drive, and where's the damn Easy Pass? Yeah, I can't, it's probably like confidential data in there and a credit card number, whatever. I can't show it to you. The Easy Pass, okay? It says I have not used the Easy Pass or gone on the Pennsylvania Turnpike or crossed the bridge into New Jersey because I don't go nowhere. It says I haven't used it since 2021. And I have to literally check a box that I want it to stay active. The little in Pennsylvania, we all have a little box that goes above your rearview mirror for the tolls. Man, we know what it is. We're not idiots. Okay. But I'm looking on this. There's no way to just go online and say, no, keep my Easy Pass going. I have to go to the post office. I have to sign this and mail it in. This is all not milk. 2024. I can't just call them up and say, keep it active. I have to check the box. I wish to close my PTC Easy Pass account, but no longer I wish to close. Yes, I would like to keep my Easy Pass account open. Sign and date below and return to Customer Service Center, East Park Drive, Harrisburg. I've got to go. This is what you would have to do in the 1970s. I mean, it's 2024. This is all not milk. Certain area tech just goes up and up, but in other areas where it's going to get you, it's going to distract you, it's going to cause you grief, it's going to make you. We'll go back to the old ways, like the internet doesn't even exist. This letter assumes the internet doesn't even exist. It's the one time I want the damn internet. So okay, guys, those that dive into the details, do they have the one page? What's their general take on what the adversary is doing? And once they see what the bad guy is up to me, it's very simple. It's here to block us from what we're supposed to do. And like Tony said, the incarnations will keep being put in place until the higher self gets what it wants. It's like your dream characters. I'm going to keep sleeping and having dream characters until some of you dream characters give me what I want. I'm going to go back to sleep now. This dream character was running from dogs, and this dog was biting him in the ass. That's not what I need. I'm going to keep dreaming until I get the dream character to give me what I want. Well, that higher self is he's going to keep dreaming till he gets, and I'm going to give it what you want, you son of a bitch. Wake up. Get us out of here. I'm going to give you what you want. All these other incarnations are like this. That's why I got in this whole stockbroker thing. Just jack-offs. They get blip, 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 calls and puts, and then they go, let's go spend $5,000 on cognac because I made $100,000 today trading. I'm going to give you higher self what you want. I'm doing the work for all of these jack-offs, and then get us out of here. Get us out. Why? Because I said so. You son of a bitch. Matt, would you like it if your dream character talked to you like that? Actually, yes. Yes, I would. And hopefully you like it too, sir. Yes, I would. For the dream character to acknowledge the person or the thing sleeping in the bed. There's probably more to summarize, guys, but again, this is going long. And please load. iMac, please load. All right, last segment. Those who I praise that do all the research and the incredible connections and the ley lines and what's your half page? What's your one-page description of the adversary? And do you think the adversary would want you looking into all of these connections? See, I think that's what separates the graduate level truther or the old guard. The old guard says the more we dive into it, the more we get closer to it, the more we bring it into our heart center reality bubble. Not saying don't do it, because that's what you do, that's what you're good at, but put it in the right context. Are you presenting the big picture? Do you think it wants you getting closer to those details? The old guard goes, yeah, it's obvious. It wants you noticing those details. In fact, it gives many of those details out as yellow breadcrumbs, so you'll notice them, so you'll talk about them. And that's fine. Keep doing that, but bring everybody back, bring your whole channel back to the high level. If you're able to do that. I don't know. I don't watch all these videos, but I've never seen them do it. Noticing the details is, I'll just say impressive, but it's not worth anything. So how can it be impressive if it doesn't lead to something very tangible things that we can use in part 2, which is only about understanding ourselves and doing what we're supposed to do in the short time that we have left. Thanks, guys.